Hello, I'm David Hunt, owner of GameMasters Guild, and welcome back to Lorcana, Not the Meta. I have another deck that I'm going to show you today, and it's going to be my Emerald and Ruby deck. I call it my Red Tape deck. Let's go ahead and get started. First thing I got is, these are all one-cost inkable cards. Vicious Betrayal, it's an action. Chosen character gets +2 willpower this turn. If a villain character is chosen instead, they get +3 willpower instead. I don't have any villains in here, I don't believe, so this card is useless on the second ability, but that's okay because it's inkable and I can use it anyways because I am kind of aggressive with this deck attacking my opponent's characters. I have Improvise in action. It's a one-cost inkable card. Chosen character gets +1 willpower this turn. I get to draw a card. Early game, or actually anytime during the game, I might actually, on my turn, cast it on someone else's character so I can still draw a card if I don't have any characters. Usually that happens right in the beginning. And I'm not afraid to do that at all, especially if I don't have any characters on the field. Alright, next I have one-cost inkable Sergeant Tibbs. He's a 2/2, and he quests for 1 lore. I just needed something fast and inexpensive to get out. This is my Emerald 2-cost. I got Flynn Rider. He's a 2-cost inkable. He's a 1/2. Whenever this character is challenged, the challenging player chooses and discards a card, which is a theme that will come back throughout this deck. And he can quest for 2 lore, which is pretty nice. So I'm definitely not afraid of questing with him, because if they want to get rid of him, not a problem. They also got to get rid of a card. I've got Bounce, which I like to use in a couple instances in this deck. Now, it's not inkable. It's a 2-cost, but that's okay, because I can return chosen character of mine to my hand and return another chosen character to the player's hand. So that's pretty nice to get rid of some troublesome characters that they may have just put out. Now, of course, that doesn't mean they can't cast me later because it goes back to their hand, but it buys me an extra turn. And sometimes you only need 1 turn to get ahead or even win the game. Next, I have Aladdin. He's a 2-cost inkable. He's a 2/2, and he's got Ward, which means opponents can't choose this character except the challenge, which means they can't smash him, they can't fire the cannons at him. It's great. And he can quest for 1 lore. I keep 3. I'm not super worried about having Ward for all my characters, but he's definitely handy to have in this deck. Whoops. Okay, we have this is still 2-cost. This is my Ruby part of my 2-cost. Lady Tremaine. She's uninkable, but she costs 2. She's a 2/2, and when I play her, each opponent with more lore than me loses a lore. And she can quest for 1. And she's one of the ones where I will use Bounce after I've played her to return her to my hand, so I still have her. And usually I'll return her to my hand after I quest with her, but still on my turn, I'll put her back in my hand so I can play her again later. And I've decided to have just 2 of her in my deck since she's uninkable. Next I have Lufau. He's a 2/2, and he can quest for 1 lore, and when I play him, I can ready a chosen character and they can't quest for the rest of the turn. So I will often also play Lady Tremaine. My next turn I'll quest with her, and then I'll play Lufau, and I will unexert her. I'll ready her, and then that way now, because she's not exerted, they have to use a spell like Fire the Cannons, or I'm sorry, an action like Fire the Cannons to stop her, destroy her, and banish her. Go to the Distance. A character with cost 2 or more can sing this song by exerting themselves for free. And ready chosen damaged character of yours, they can't quest for the rest of this turn, draw a card. Super handy. I have, it just doesn't matter, any of these characters could have damage on them. The Foul could have 1 damage on him. I could quest, get a lore, makes him vulnerable to another character, banish him, but then I can play Go the Distance. I can ready him, so he's less likely to be challenged or eliminated, and then I get to draw a card. And Go the Distance works with some other cards that I have in this deck as well. Tangle action. 2-cost inkable. Each opponent loses a lore. And the theme with Lady Tremaine, Tangle, right there, losing lore. I'm all about eliminating lore, and I'm a little more aggressive on their characters, so that way I can hopefully gain some lore. And It's one of my key cards. I have a play set in there. Oh, there's my other Lufau. I knew I had 2 of them. And then, so I had 2 Lufau. I got 3 Go to Distance, 2 Lady Tremaine, play set of Tangles, and I have Mother Golful, and she's a 2 cost. She's a 3/4 for 2. Now she comes into play with 3 damage and she quests for 1 lore, but that's okay. I don't mind, because if you're playing her in other decks, you can heal her, but also too, outplay her. I could, that 3 damage on another character to eliminate them is great. And if I think she's vulnerable, if I quest with her, I might throw her back to my hand using Bounce, or I could use Lufau to ready her so she can't quest for the rest of the turn, but she's already quested, so it's not a big deal, and then she's less likely to get attacked by other characters. Next up, I believe these are my 3-cost emeralds, and they are. Hypnotize is an action. Each opponent chooses and discards a card. Draw a card. So not only do they have to get rid of a card when I play this card, but I'm also drawing a card to replace that card, keeping my hand full, keeping it fresh, giving me options for the rest of the game. Jasper, he's a 3-cost, he's inkable, he's a 2/4, and he can quest for 1 lore, and whenever this character quests, chosen opposing character can't quest during their next turn. Very useful against those Sapphire decks that you run in Bell all the time. Plus, he's a 2/4, so he's a little harder to get off the board, so they have to commit more resources to get him. I'm actually kind of surprised he's only a 3-cost, because I actually pretty like him, and I think he's a pretty good card, actually. At least for me, he is. Next, we got Donald Duck. He's a 0/5, super tough character, and whenever I play an action, he gets +2 to his willpower this turn, and he quests for 1 lore. I have a play set of him because he's inexpensive enough. He can take a lot of damage, plus if I'm playing something like Vicious Betrayal, I get a little more out of this card, because since I don't have a villain character to give +3 will to, I only have these good characters. Whenever I play an action, I play Vicious Betrayal, Donald gets +2 will, and then he also gets +2 will from the Vicious Betrayal. So now he is a 4/5 and can take out most characters at one go. So a very nice combo to have. Next up are all my 3-cost Aladdins, or all my 3-cost Ruby cards, and this is my 3-cost Inkable Aladdin Street Rat. He's a 2/2. He can quest for 1 lore, and when I play this character, each opponent loses 1 lore. Lose a lore, lose a lore, lose a lore, just like that. So very nice, very handy. If you were playing him, just think about the possibilities. If you watched my last video, my episode 2, Queen's Gambit, I have Madam Mim the Snake and Madam Mim the Fox, where when they come into play, you have to put a character back in their hand. And again, I could put Aladdin back in my hand and play him again, and just constantly wear down the other player's lore. So even if the game drags out, you are constantly getting ahead of the game, hopefully. And I only got 3, but I am going to upscale to 1 more. I've just been tweaking this deck and trying a lot of different things. Next, I have Shere Khan. He's a 3-cost Inkable. He's a 3/3, quest for 1 lore, and whenever one of my characters challenge another character, I gain a lore. So not only can I be more aggressive with my characters in terms of challenging and banishing my opponent's characters, but I still get lore in the process. And what's nice is whenever one of my characters challenges another character, gain 1 lore. It doesn't say other characters. Wording is very important, which means he gets it. And even if the intent is for other characters to get it, that's okay. If I have 2 Shere Khans, I get around that anyways if they have any kind of errata updates on Shere Khan. 4 is a must, and he's only a 3-cost, and it really allows me to be aggressive against my opponent's characters and gain lore in the process. With characters like Donald, he can soak up a lot of the damage, and I could also use Bounce. If he gets a lot of damage on him from me challenging, I could bounce him back to my hand and then replay him, so that way at least I've got him. And just because Donald's got 0 doesn't mean I still can't challenge. I certainly can, even if I don't play an action or any other kind of buff to get his willpower higher, because I still gain 1 lore just whenever I challenge another character. So that's super awesome. So I can even challenge another character even if I don't have any way to buff Donald. So that's definitely why I'm going to keep 4 of him in my deck. Plus, I have, well, I've got Daisy. Let's go ahead and start with her. She's a 4-cost, inkable, 2/3. She quests for 2, which I love cards that quest for at least 2 lore. And whenever she quests, each opponent chooses and discards a card. And I will definitely play Daisy to get my opponents to go after her instead of some of my other cards. Especially I'm holding something my card to maybe bounce Aladdin and put him back out. There's all sorts of reasons and ideas. Plus, it's a really cool looking card. I really like the gold foil. Then I have Donald Duck, Perfect Gentleman. He's a 4-cost inkable. He's a 2/5, and again, he quests for 2 lore. He's got Shift 3, so I could play him on top of my other Donald Duck if I need to get him out sooner rather than later. But usually 4-cost, I'm not as worried about it. And then at the start of my turn, each player may draw a card. So if I have him out, then I'm done. He's drawing. My opponent goes. Then on my turn, I can draw a card. Then I can draw a card. My other opponent can draw a card as well. And no one's going to not want to do that, even though it says may. And I've got 4 of him on there. I could probably honestly cut down to 3. So that's probably where my extra Aladdin will come from, is I'll get rid of a Donald Duck Perfect Gentleman and probably get Aladdin Street Rat in there. Because I really like the ability to take lore. Even though I like extra card draw and this gets cards in my hand, I usually only need 1. And I'll probably replace them with a cold foil. Okay, and then my last stack, I don't even know if you can see it. I got so many cards. It's, whoops, I guess I didn't need to mix them. Well, that's okay. 3, there we go. My last stack is all the way off to the right, just out of sight. And this is all my other cards. I got a bunch of different cards in here. So this is going to be, I got Ruby cards and I've got Emerald cards in here. So first up is my Ruby cards. I've got Mulan, Imperial Soldier. She's a 4/5, inkable. And I can quest for 1 lore. What's also nice is during my turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, my other characters get +1 lore this turn. So if I can get Mulan out into play, and next turn I can challenge and banish a character, which is highly probable because Mulan's already hitting for 4, then now all my other characters quest for lore. Makes all these 1 lore characters 2-cost, makes all my 2-cost, or not 2-cost, but my 2 lore characters have 3 lore now. It's a really, really good card. I like it a lot. Still kind of working with it. It's kind of not my main thing, but it is really nice to have. Donald Duck, 5-cost inkable, 1/5, again, can suck up a lot of damage. And perfect for hitting other characters and using Shere Khan's ability. But has evasive, and only characters with evasive can challenge this character. Plus, he gets +1 lore for each 1 damage on him. So if he's already got some damage, and he quests, if he's got 2 damage on him, now he's questing for 3 lore. Rapunzel, one of the few non-inkable cards I have, but totally worth it. She's a 5/4, quest for 2, and when I play this character, an opponent loses 1 lore just for her coming out into play. I only got 3 because she's so expensive. And one of my linchpins in this deck, I really try to get her out if I can, is my Mother Golful, Selfish Manipulator. And 6-cost inkable, 3/6, questing for 2, 6. Man, that is a lot of strength right there. And while this character is exerted, opposing characters can't quest. So they're definitely going to want to focus a lot of resources on trying to eliminate Mother Golful. That's for sure. And I definitely have a couple in my deck. At the very least, it's kind of nice to lock them down if they can't immediately do anything. It buys me at least 1 turn, maybe 2, maybe more, if I literally play my cards right. And then last but not least, I have Be Prepared, which is, I always want to do that, which is my 7-cost uninkable, but banish all characters. Now, I don't have any way to sing this because I don't have anybody whose cost is high enough to sing it, but it's worth it to banish all characters. And if I have to have 1 card in my hand that's kind of a dead card that I can't do anything with, well, I guess it's going to be this card. I just kind of like it. I think it's pretty good. It's kind of my emergency reset card. I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep it in here. I might try it for a few games and see, because I did just add it in recently. but it'll probably change, and I'll probably snag another Mother Gothel, just have her in here, or put another Rapunzel back in here, because I did take a Rapunzel out, but I think I would rather have something inkable versus something that's not. But that right there is my red tape deck. Originally it was called Sergeant Tibbs' Lonely Hearts deck, but it started becoming my red tape deck because a friend of mine, every time we play, it felt like every time I'd make him lose a lore, he felt like he was being taxed, so he started calling it the red tape deck. So he started calling me the IRS and the bureaucracy, so now it's the red tape deck. Well, I hope you enjoyed checking out my red tape deck, my ruby and emerald deck, and hopefully you found something interesting in this deck. Hopefully you see something that you might be able to use in your deck. And I'm David Hunt, owner of GameMasters Guild, thanking you for watching. And as always, I want you to stay safe, play great games, and I'll see you real soon.